What's a good Missandei line?
Oh, gosh. She had one the whole episode.
Dracarys. It was nice to hear someone else say it. And for a second, I was like, did he listen? Is he still toiling back there? I was like, maybe he like snuck around behind him?
Oh my gosh, Arya's wearing the dragon's face.
Man, a lot happened in this.
A lot did, because we had zero travel. Absolutely zero. And they were just able to...
Yeah. At this point, though, did it matter? Did we miss
Oh, no, I'm not saying... Yeah, I'm not saying it's necessarily bad, because I'm like, if something interesting happens to the traveling at this point, yes, show it, but like, what they have structure-wise, I mean, they got two episodes now left, it's like...
As long as the whole show is skipping time at a time, I don't think...
Yeah, I don't have as big a deal of it as other people do, at this point, at least.
Should I just do an intro and you can cut something out of all that?
Thanks, yeah, sure.
We already started talking.
Winter is coming.
Where are my dragons?
In the Game of Thrones, you either win or you die.
The things I do for love.
A Lannister always pays his debts.
Chaos is a ladder.
Hodor.
You know nothing, Jon Snow.
We
Are
the Rewatchers on the wall.
I liked my Tormund voice earlier, and it's not coming back to me. You go to Smolpekka. There we go. I got it back. Let's go. Everyone else is drinking wine. I'm drinking milk. I want that big woman. She needs 2 hands. But there she goes. Should I go south? No, I'm leaving. On a jet plane. Don't know when I'll be back again. It's too hot down there. But you got the real north in you, boy.
Tormund's deleted internal monologue. I wonder why they.
The women don't like me down here.
Gosh.
I'll miss you. Kiss you. Give you my coat when you're cold. Even let you hold the remote control. Welcome to Rewatchers on the Wall!
Whoa,
It's season 8, episode 4. My name is Mitchell Marshall. I'm here with Tyler Harris, Tyler McKinley, and Riley Harris. And so much happened. The last episode was long, but it was a battle. This one, so much happened.
Yeah.
Tyler, what in the name of the Jonas Brothers new tour coming? We're sponsored by the Jonas Brothers now. This April to that's now. It's October to Salt Lake City. What happened in Game of Thrones?
Season 8, episode 4 of Game of Thrones. The dead are burned, then everyone feasts. Gendry is looking for Arya. Daenerys makes Gendry Lord Baratheon of Storm's End. Jaime is trying to get Brienne drunk. Tyrion and Davos get existential. Gendry finds Arya, proposes to her, and she says, nah. Dany realizes she will never be able to sit at the popular kids' table. Brienne is getting real drunk, and she gets embarrassed about being a virgin and leaves. Jaime follows her because he can help her with that. Tormund cries to the Hound about Brienne. Dany issues Jon an ultimatum and tells Jon if they're going to be together, then he can't tell anyone about his true parentage. Dany lays out her strategy for the attack on King's Landing. Jon sides with Dany. Arya calls a meeting of the Stark family council. Jon proves that he truly knows nothing about anything. Tyrion turns the table on height jokes. Bronn shows up to leverage Cersei's offer into something better from the brothers Lannister, and Tyrion offers him Highgarden. Arya crashes the Hound's road trip to King's Landing. Sansa tells Tyrion about Jon's parentage. Jon is going south with the army. Tormund is going to his cold wandering home, and he's taking the dog with him. Jon says goodbye to Sam and Gilly, who are expecting. Tyrion and Varys discuss Jon being on the throne. Aemon kills a dragon. Euron kills a dragon with a waterborne dragon gun, then destroys all of Dany's ships. Cersei creates a 1,000-person human shield. Dany tells her advisors that she will rid the world of tyranny no matter the cost. Varys is trying to convince Tyrion that Jon is going to be a better king. Jaime ditches Brienne to go back to his gross incestuous home. Dany arrives at King's Landing. Qyburn and Tyrion exchange nearly identical terms. Cersei still can't kill Tyrion, but she can kill Missandei. And she does. Yeah. Well, not her personally, but...
I was really hoping to see Noth.
Yes, her homeland.
I give it like a 98% chance Grey Worm goes down now, because, like, what's the point of living without her?
Yeah, well, I mean, I feel like they pretty much sealed their fates when he was like, can't wait to be on a beach somewhere.
Yeah.
Yep,
but then they gave me extra hope. And how did they capture her? She got on a skiff before the crap started even going down.
She doesn't
Maybe she got on the wrong skiff. She's not a sailor. We'll never know, though.
Maybe she thought skiff meant the enemy vessel.
Damn you for not being a seaman.
And she took that as a breakup. It's like, go get on their ship. I don't want to see you. You led us into this trap. I know you did.
I'm sure she's missing some social graces being a slave her whole life.
But yeah, I was hoping, like, with that they gave us the pathos they gave us before, I'm like, they're not big enough characters to do anything with. That'll be like our nice little bone they throw us for like the not post credits, but like the final montage of where are they now?
Yeah.
And I was like, that'll be fun. And now I'm like,
They threw you more than the bone. They gave you the whole head.
the whole head. And I'm like,
There
you
are several
bastards took
bones.
that from me. So now I hear me now, D&D, as they refer to them on Reddit.
Do
I know,
they?
I know.
Is that what they call them?
Yeah.
Boo. Boo, Reddit.
Sure, the episodes may be written, but you can change it. Grey Worm needs to kill the Pirate King, or whatever the fuck his name is. I don't care about urine anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, he needs to die. I really want him to die painfully. And it's got to be Grey Worm now, right? Right?
I could be on board with that.
Here's the biggest thing. Why don't they just tell him about Arya's power and have Arya kill the queen? Like, doesn't an assassination seem like the best way to go about this now?
Yeah, for
it
sure.
does.
But I don't know if they'll
No.
give Arya both the Night King and Cersei.
No, as a storytelling device, I wouldn't. But if Dany were just smart, she would do it.
Well, but
Yeah.
here's the thing: how many people actually know about Arya's bat? You know what I
think
mean? I
just
don't think anyone.
Well, if
does, right?
Sansa's throwing it
Yeah.
around like she throws everything else around,
I
then
know.
everybody knows.
She was that girl in high school.
Man.
I know what you said.
I thought we
know
were the
what you
most
said,
gossipy
John.
bitches we knew.
and John's like the guy that's like, I don't want to start anything, but I just thought everyone should know. I'm a
Yo.
Targaryen.
You guys, I had to tell you.
Idiot. Yeah. Anyways, yeah. What a mess we have in our hands.
Seriously. Oh,
Yeah.
where do we even start? First of all, I loved the celebration scene. I'm glad everyone's getting laid and celebrating and getting drunk. It did feel a little out of the world of Game of Thrones, but I was kind of here for it. Like, I laughed out loud multiple times.
Yeah, that's good. I liked it.
I liked how
think
it started with like being more somber and then how it escalated and flowed. I thought it worked really nicely.
Well,
I
and
think
then
they still
go ahead.
did like meaningful character things
Yeah,
inside of that too that were fun. So.
Well, and the fact that we kept getting shots back to Dany's face and her reactions, and
Yeah.
we went on that emotional roller coaster with her, that was really well done. Because as funny as that was, for her to be seeing these things happen and then for it to hit the hardest with Jon at the end,
Yeah.
that was really well constructed.
Well, yeah, and it was done almost entirely without any dialogue
Yeah.
between her and another character. Like, even the stuff where it's like she makes Gendry, like, Lord of Storm's End or whatever, like, that was, like, dripping in the subtext. It was really easy to read, which Game of Thrones isn't always great at that, but this was, like, exceptionally well done.
It did a great job of her realizing that her allies are not as strong as they are. Like, her allies are not the people who matter. Having everyone from Essos on your side is great, and they have connections, but like, Tyrion's not sitting next to you. You don't have that kind of relationship. So you're in trouble. Like, I think she just realized not only is Jon a great leader and she really never connected with people in the West yet, she's also realizing, like, politically, I've got good advisors, but I am alone. I do not have the true loyalty of the people in the West. And, like, that realization hitting her face and people physically moving away from her. That was tough.
Yeah.
This was well done. Not Renly.
Gendry.
Gendry.
Sap.
Continues to stay in character as a representation of these past 2 seasons and just goes 90 miles per hour and goes and finds Arya and immediately proposes to her and tells her, you know what, yeah, I'm going to be Lord, let's get married, let's do this, let's get this show on the road, I am like the writers of the show. And and then she, I think, which is really great because from what we've seen of his character, that still sticks with his character.
Yeah.
That's something he would do.
Right.
As
When he
well
told
as
Jon right away.
Yeah.
After they were like, don't tell him. Like, this is my dad. Really proud of it. And of course, it started out with Dany saying that, and you thought like she was going to talk shit. It was like, do you really need to do this right now? You got to pretend he's your enemy. And then it takes a nice turn. But yeah, everything him and Arya did completely made character sense to me. It was a little heartbreaking. I don't know, like, Arya has so much more humanity, but other than her list, like, even if she doesn't want to be a lady, does she want to have a simple life, or does she want to be an assassin?
Yeah. Well, and I think, like, especially, there's still a lot of work to do. Like, I think that's what, I mean,
Yeah.
Arya, during the celebration, is just shooting arrows at the target, you know what I mean? Like, I think that Arya is so, like, I think there are a few characters like this, but Arya especially is so single-minded.
Yeah.
As far as what there is that, I don't see her settling down until a lot lot of other shit is done.
Well, and her social skills are also just gone.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
After 10, she was kind of, she started being homeschooled, if you know what I mean. I don't know, it's sad because she got rehumanized a little bit throughout the last little bit. Not that she was inhuman, but you're like, she was so singularly focused and so, dour. It was good to see her, have fear and express things and interact. And I think they've now found a good balance of it. And I never expected her to do that, or to, go and be a lady. But it is interesting to think, what is the fate of her character? After this episode, I think I have a really good idea of who's going to die. I feel pretty strongly about it.
Who do you think
I
is gonna
really
die?
think Arya and Tyrion are going to die.
Okay.
I still think Dany's probably going to die as far as big characters, but I really feel like Arya and Tyrion are going to die.
Interesting. Yeah, I think Tyrion for sure. I'm not sure about Arya yet though. I'm not quite as sure as you are. I don't think.
I feel it. What does she have left after this? I don't know. I guess if everything goes to complete shit, she's the one person who has this I'll go where I went, when I want, do what I want, and I don't know what's ever fulfilling for her, though. That's what's painful, is where her character is right now, other than completing her list, and even if she does, or she dies by someone else, what does she find fulfilling, her family having the North, and her being an aunt, I guess, because she doesn't sound like she wants to settle down. I don't know, it almost breaks my heart, but she's also, it's a good thing to me for an incredible character.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. She's great.
But it would be interesting if everyone dies and Tyrion ends up ruling in we just came right back to a Lannister. I'm not taking that off the table, but I think he's gonna die.
Yeah, I could see that. I feel like he probably will too. Man, what else?
What did you think of John's speech for? I guess we kind of skipped over all the pyres.
Okay, I don't know if you guys noticed it. Man sounded like he was breathing in while he was talking the entire time. It sounded weird. It took me right out of it. Did not like that speech.
He doesn't have a voice for those speeches. That's why they haven't done that with him really before.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I feel like it hasn't bothered me before, but this one was just delivery wise and performance wise, it felt especially bizarre. To me,
He had something in his throat.
Well, he's got that Orlando Bloom thing
This
where it's
is
someone
film.
who
They
hasn't
can do multiple
spoken in a
takes.
long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they're like, okay, now you're an actor. You have to
Yeah.
speak a lot. He's like, oh shit.
Yeah.
I can definitely see his career going a Orlando Bloom
Into
way.
the John.
In Kit Harington, which is kind of a bad thing, but I like Orlando Bloom. But anyway, sorry, that's beside the point. All right, so they burn people. Let's be honest. More people, not enough people. More people than that died in the battle I saw.
Yeah,
more than half those mother effers died.
But specifically half of every group.
I know.
Just exactly
Yeah.
They
half
could
of
have at
them.
least said 1/15 of the Unsullied died. All the Dothraki are gone. No,
That would have been a
Half,
lot more believable. But no, the best was when they're all saying half of this. Oh yes, half of this as well. And then is it Lord Royce? Is that his name? He
just
kinda,
silently
he's
goes-
kind of silently reaches and is
Yeah.
yeah, mine too.
Same.
half the Knights of
doing
the Vale are dead.
We actually haven't counted yet, but
That's probably right.
All my counters were killed.
or he lost
Don't know numbers.
90% of his crew, but he didn't want to be embarrassed and be the only person who lost more than half.
Yeah, I'm probably 52%, but we'll just say 50. Yeah, that was
That's another one of those
that
little
was good
bullshit
reading.
things.
Yeah.
That's so easy to fix. And it I don't know, it just draws you out of it.
They could have at least had a 2/3. Come on!
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
all right. You guys want to talk about sex,
Let's
I
talk
guess,
about
yeah.
sex.
baby? Let's talk about Jamie. Ian Brienne did all the good things and the bad things. All right.
Whoa! Did you watch a different cut that I did?
Yeah, I watched the extended
Uncut
cut.
version.
Oh, uncut.
So you saw all the travel.
So,
From the north to the south.
You had to climb all the way up
yeah.
and all the way down. Okay. Yeah.
I liked it.
I thought they earned it, but it still felt weird for them.
Oh,
to-
yeah, it felt
it was
bizarre,
super
yeah,
weird.
That's
absolutely.
what I don't think it was unearned fan service. It is technically fan service.
Absolutely fancy.
But then they go back on it, which not go back on it, but in a way Jamie's emotional turmoil.
Yes.
It all worked for me, but I was kind of surprised it happened.
The which part were you surprised by?
sexy.
Okay, yeah,
the
yeah.
the intercourse.
Yeah, I didn't expect. I expected it to kind of be an unresolved yet acknowledged love between them. You know what I mean?
But they'd just be shacking up after that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It was weird.
It was really weird.
It's really weird. It's like one of those things. It was kind of the same way I felt about Arya's a little bit, where it was like it's jarring at first to see this character put into a sexual context. You know what I mean? But yeah, I've actually really liked what they've done with Brienne and Jaime this season in particular, and yeah, I liked that. I thought it worked pretty well. So.
Well, that's all we had to say
Yeah,
about that.
Was there other sex that happened? I don't even remember. This episode, so many things happened.
It seemed like Pod got to run off with a very attractive random servicewoman, and
for him.
she's going to be very pleased. We all know it, and good for Pod.
Yeah. Well, she's going to be pleased, but hopefully Pod stays there then, because, I don't know, Pod really, I've kind of come around on this. Pod is really cursing women. Every time he sleeps with them, that's it. You know, after that, it's just kind of like, yeah, you're just going to have to sleep with one of
The rest of your life is just going to be sad.
Yeah.
Well, he's going where Brienne's going. I don't think her story is done, which means she has to have reason. She goes south for some reason.
Yeah, yeah.
Someone else gets dragged off by someone.
I think
was that?
Tormund.
Tormund.
Oh, was it Tormund?
Yeah.
But apparently she didn't like him. I mean, he kind of pleasantly.
Someone tries to get with the Hound, which I was like, why would you look at that guy and think he's approachable?
There is like
Getting
this
that.
soldiers coming home from war thing that's like a thing.
But
The
he's
baby
terrifying. Like he's a scary dude.
Some people are like into weird
Look,
stuff.
Riley, I know,
Just because
I know
Tumblr's
that-
gone doesn't mean there aren't kinks, you know?
That is true. The kinks did not die with Tumblr.
Oh,
And they might be coming back. I mean,
I
anyways.
could not
The
name a kink
Kinks are
song.
coming back?
No, I wish. Give me the
Are
zombie
they even
kinks.
alive? I don't even know if the Kinks are...
So, I don't know.
I don't know my Kinks rock history well enough to know if they're still around, but
I don't think we're going to see Tormund again.
we're not.
Yeah,
No,
I
it's
think
sad.
Tormund is done, and they made it feel like we were done with Sam.
Yeah.
Sam's going to get a Coda moment.
Right, yeah.
But as far as him impacting the plot, yeah, I think he's done. Oh, by the way, someone who's been dormant coming back with a big-time episode. Let's talk about one of our other favorite eunuchs,
Braun?
Varys.
Oh, wait.
Oh, Braun is not. He's the opposite of a eunuch.
I
He's
jumped my
swinging that
gun. I was
sword.
going to say Braun before you finished your sentence. Yeah.
He did. We'll definitely have to get to Braun. I actually didn't like that. But Varys, my guy, is back. You know, he's in the ear of the queen, but he's really not been doing anything. And now his whole serve the realm thing has had him flipping sides. And I'm not saying he's wrong, but he's just been so doing nothing. And now he's like, gotta change it up.
Yeah.
Gotta get
He's
involved.
had his eggs in that basket of Daenerys for a long time, and kind of since season 1 being the show, and for him to switch here at the last moment feels, I mean, it feels in character. It just feels weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's been hard because there's been so much. She's been in war mode, not politic mode, and so it's been hard. Like, he can be part of the introduction to that, which he was, but then you lose your role a little bit, and now we're seeing her clearly show some flashes of madness. And Varys has to do the right thing, and I get that, but my guy Tyrion, like, I understood Jon telling Sansa and Arya. I understood Sansa even telling Tyrion, even though that may have been her pulling a little finger. But him telling Varys, like, that's your confidant, that's your other advisor to the queen that you can kind of bond with, and they had 2 wonderful scenes. My guy, that's a master of whispers. Now everyone under the age of 10 knows that shit.
Yeah.
Every child knows.
All the little birds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Varys basically he's like, oh, yeah, it's not a secret anymore. 8 people know. Yeah, that's not a secret. We can talk about it wherever we want. And
It's
we
like
will.
that's information we're going to use.
It's such a weapon for him, and
Yeah.
so, yeah, he's gonna. I think he's gonna go full. Let's let this out. Let's get Jon to lead because he's gonna be a better leader. And then my question is, if there is a conflict between Jon and Dany, like, who does that come down to? Who fights if they literally turn against each other?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's really getting to the point, I feel like, where those conflicts, it's kind of like, yeah, we'll let them figure it out. Like, at this point, it's kind of like a weird stalemate of armies in a way.
Yeah.
At least the way they've set it up, I don't think it should be based on what we've seen, but whatever, that's kind of where we're at, I guess. And like it's really bizarre. I really don't know.
I don't mind it because I kind of like not knowing. I think it's I think it's just the length of this episode. It gave them some time to have some moments, and I'm wondering which ones hit for you guys, because we have a battle episode that needed to be long. The next episode's long because it's presumably the next battle, and then the last episode's long because it's the goodbye. This is the one where I wouldn't have been surprised if it was like a 60-minute episode. So they kept it long, and a lot happened. There were only they kind of like to end on an impact point, so there were only a couple times I thought it might end. I didn't feel like it was Return of the King dragging, but it just kind of kept going, and so they set up a lot. They allowed themselves to do some goodbyes and some reunions that before the season I might have said they don't have time for that. But I'm curious, we can keep moving through plot. What was effective and what maybe felt extended for you guys in this?
We already talked briefly about like the Bronn and Jamie, we haven't talked about that yet. The Brienne and Jamie stuff, I think was effective, and also Jamie leaving, I think, was a big part of that because it maintained the unresolved thing about his character that is still interesting and a reason for him to still be around. You know what I mean? And so that for me was up there as far as like most effective stuff, I think. This
Give
episode.
Gwendolyn Christie a freaking Emmy.
She's good, yeah.
That her break, because on one hand I could understand her being like, how could you do this, but she kind of wasn't there. She kind of knew that he is a two-sided man, and it just seems like Jamie, when the thought of her really losing Cersei, he's like, even though she's horrible, I'm not that redeemable. I did all those horrible things, and so like I don't want to live with that and just stay here. And that's a really good, like, Jamie in we talk about how these episodes are almost movie length. Like, he almost goes through an emotional journey that a character would in a movie in this single episode. I mean, and a lot of that comes off the back of what they've built. But I also agree with you and Wasted. Like, the Bronn thing, I didn't like it when they first started it. I didn't like it in this episode. He's been such a different person in the other seasons where it's so enjoyable to see him with Pod, with Jamie, and with Tyrion. I kind of get his anger, and it's funny that he's like, I still think the Dragon King's gonna win, and so he's kind of still doing his solo thing, but it just felt like a wild card that just made me anxious and didn't serve plot as it should be.
It didn't go anywhere.
What a misuse of such a fun character to be around.
The thing is, he's not in the books, and I think... And I like how they continue. I like a portion of what they've done the show of where they've continued his character. At a certain point, though, I think you need to understand, if you don't have anything, don't force anything. Yeah. You can let characters go and not kill them off to do that, you know?
Yeah.
Some of the fan base might be angry, but fuck them. Like, do what's right for the story, and this just feels horrible.
Yeah.
For that first part of the season where it introduced it, like you said, and then this just like, oh, so this was completely pointless. Thanks.
It's it's sucking the fun things about that character completely out of it, and it's distilling it down to like the least complex version of that character in a way that's really disappointing.
If he would have done something disgusting, I wouldn't have hated it, and I guess there's still ways that could pay off in a positive. Like, there could be something good that comes of Bronn, like us finding out that he does care more about those people and end up defending them in some way. I don't know, but it wasn't long. It wasn't a huge deal, but that might be one of the few misplays, and Bronn has just been a favorite character.
Yeah.
And I would even say he's a third-tier character, but so much good comes from him.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and I feel like how they left it, it's unclear whether he's going to show up again or not. Because he was kind of like, don't die, see you after it's done. Yeah. So, like, we might not even really see that resolved
but, like,
at all,
not in a good
weird.
way either. Like, not in, like, a suspenseful, like, oh, I wonder what's going to happen. It's like, oh, gosh. Like,
this is like an extra thread in an already, like, packed season and short season that, like, is wholly unnecessary. I feel like
it's like I didn't want Bronn to not be in it, and I'm not saying that would be better. I said there's maybe a tiny moment we could have had with him that would have given me better result. I would have rather have him been underserved than disserviced.
For sure.
Arya and the Hound, we talked about Arya already. they kind of have another moment riding off together, which is beautiful. I was so glad the Hound and Sansa had a scene as well.
Yeah, me
Yeah,
too.
that was a really good moment.
It was Sansa kind of saying, like, not that she needed to have such horrible things done, but, like, to be around such horrendous people in this world, that has prepared her to be a leader, and that's unfortunate. But for them to have that mutual recognition, and then him to ride off with Arya, like, he says only one thing will make me happy. I assume that's killing his brother.
I assume
Yes.
that too. Yeah, that's I think
It's hard for me for him to have so much emotional turmoil that is so well done, but also to really only have one note. I don't know.
Yeah, it's hard because they haven't played that up enough. Like, we really only have backstory on it.
Yeah.
There was that one scene in season 1, and that was it. And so it's like, for that to be his main thing doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
And but everything else they've done with the character's been phenomenal. So it's weird to have that be was like, oh, I just can't live my life until he's dead. I'm
Yeah.
like, dude's already dead.
Yeah.
Like,
He's a
that's
vegetable.
true. It's a weird. What satisfaction is he actually going to get at this point? He could probably like step on a bunch of just random people's heads and get the same satisfaction.
It would have felt better if he had just gone with the army and then in that battle they met up.
Yeah.
Or he like runs off another character to like try and get Cersei or something, runs into him. Like him and Arya charge in the tower and he's like, I got this and you go type of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I will say kind of on the Sansa stuff real quick. It's like they finally learned how to write Sansa this season. I like her so much more this season than I have ever in this show. And she's interesting, she's driven, she's just predictable enough. Like, I feel like that's the big thing is, like, I know her just enough that I'm pretty sure I know where she's going. Like, it's... I don't know. That's an astounding thing to me. I didn't think I'd be saying that this season, but I think the writing for her character is the best it's been on the show, for sure.
I agree. Yeah, I don't love how they've gotten there, but I think they finally realize what makes her tick, and yeah, she's great now. I think she's a great ingredient to the show.
Yeah.
Being, because honestly, like just Jon and Daenerys by themselves, even if it still works where they're going against each other, she becomes the much more interesting. I got to pick the right word here. I was about to pick a really bad one. Fuel for that fire. I was going to use the word lubricant.
Yeah.
She's great lubricant for the fire. We gotta keep her around.
Conflict lubricant. A bizarre oxymoron.
You're the comic relief. You're the conflict lubricant.
It's kind of interesting how her and Jon are complex and technically well done, and at the same time not that interesting. They obviously have layers. Everything is still coming to fruition, and they have plenty of internal and external drama. I thought their conversation was well done. I think the love hate, man, it was actually really well written for Jon to be like, I don't want to lead. I've got to tell these. Like, he finally was a little bit more straightforward in very few words about what he has to do, and I loved her being she was begging, and we don't see her beg, of course. It's a big thing in the books that they call her brother the Beggar King, because he's around Essos begging for help to try and get back, and so it's a big deal for her. I was surprised she came straight out and was like, just don't tell anyone, just swear them to secrecy and let's just do it this way. And I get why Jon can't, but I thought that was all etched out for us, and I also thought it was left in a place where I'm like, I don't know what's gonna happen.
Yeah. No, I like that a lot. I really am. I really don't know what's going to happen. There's so many ways this could go, and fun things that they have. Some stuff they've introduced this season into the mix, even that I think is going to bring us to an interesting close. But yeah.
So then we head south. I was kind of surprised how long we went in this episode without seeing Cersei, but it was like
I was bummed.
we're really just gonna do like. We're not going to jump back and forth anymore. There's no point. We're just going to do a chunk here and a chunk here. And I don't know why they didn't try and get Yara to help them or something. Like, how could you not see a naval attack coming? And then, aren't dragon scales supposed to be really effing strong? Like, I can understand the neck or the eyes, but otherwise, I just feel like
it went down a little easy.
And I mean, they did make it get hit like 4 or 5 times. I was just like, a big A dragon, like, after it got the first one, it was a little in shock for too long. It was interesting that they like practically killed it last episode and kept it alive for a moment of shock this episode. I don't think it was a terrible move. But it is interesting.
I think the thing is, if you look at that dragon gun too, like the rubber bands they use to pull the arrows back are real thick, thicker than we've seen in Westeros. To this
I
point.
loved in the behind the episode in this one, like, well, we saw last season the Kyber had built that scorpion and it didn't really work too well, so he made him bigger. This time, I'm like, that was the problem. It wasn't big enough. No, the problem was you missed.
But also with the I feel like the dragon should be able to dodge those a little bit better. That's all. That's all. Yeah. And now that they're lining, I'm like, hey, how does Drogon come into play? It just seems like that was their equalizer for dragons, and I don't quite buy it.
Yeah, I mean, like,
it's a convenient answer.
You know what would have been great if
problem.
they didn't have the scorpions, and there were only like your army, instead of being half of it surviving, 1/10 of it surviving, and you just having a dragon and that much of your army. That would have been more an equal battle. But instead of the equalizer being like you lost what you should have in the Battle of Winterfell, now the equalizer is a spear gun.
Yeah.
And fucking urine. I hate
hate
that
his
character.
face.
Yeah, thank you. Let's punch it. Like,
Yeah.
I hate that character and what they've introduced with him.
Yeah.
Like, every time he's on screen, I feel like I'm watching something else, and it's bad.
Yeah. I really don't like him.
him.
Like him behind that thing. I'm like, okay, I guess he's there. I mean, yeah, he rules Iron Fleet, but he's on like the Golden Company ships, and he's the gunner. Aren't you like the captain?
Yeah, and I feel like it's one of the characters too that's like every aspect of it, like from his conception to the writing to the performance. I'm not really down with any of it.
It didn't. I mean, it's serving its purpose. I don't. A part of me hates it, but I'm not like mad about it. But I'm like, okay, this is what it is. Like, kind of wish he would have been taken out of play early.
Yeah.
And hopefully in the next, I hope he doesn't get 1 second of screen time in the final episode. Let's just put it that way. He needs to die as soon as possible next week.
I hope the Hound rapes him.
Gosh.
Just gonna say it.
We just want to remind you that this episode is brought to you by the Jonas Brothers, who are now making music for adults, and one of them is married to Sansa. So
Yeah, they've had sex now. This is the first music they've made since they've had sex, right?
yeah, they all had purity rings last time.
The last
Not
time they dropped a
anymore.
single,
Dang.
they were married to Jesus or something.
Shit
I don't know
just
how
got
purity rings work.
real.
Yeah, they were nuns.
Yeah.
They were all
But like cool Jesus.
the Jonas Sisters is what they really were.
Jesus that's at the Christian rock festival.
You know they have a little brother named Frankie that people call the
Bonus Jonas. Yep, I know about him.
Cracks me up.
This is how bad Euron Greyjoy is. We get driven to conversations about the Jonas Brothers instead of talking about this piece of shit.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right. Moving on from Euron, who thinks he's the baby daddy to Cersei's child, which really seems like it's Jaime's. I don't know how the time's going to work with that when she's like giving birth and he's like, but we only had sex 4 months ago. Anyway.
Here's the thing, though. When Tyrion was talking to her, he said something about her child. So he's like, Euron isn't smart. But you'd think at some point he'd be like, how does he know about the baby? Because I just found out about this baby.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, yeah. Euron's not smart. He
not.
doesn't know what a gestation period is. No. Did you know that elephants are pregnant for like 28 months or something?
Yeah.
No.
It's a long
Oh
time.
my gosh, that's a long.
That's a lot of skin to make, though.
Yeah,
They're making
It's got
another
a lot of
elephant.
skin.
So.
There's a lot of dirt.
That
with
trunk.
Jedi.
I think there's little elves inside of the elephant just factoring together.
That's why they're called elephants.
Oh! Speaking of elephants, well, it's just too damn bad that Cersei didn't get any elephants.
You know, this season would go from a solid B+ to a solid A- if I saw an elephant trunk.
And just
the trunk.
Just peek around the corner of the gate.
It's like,
Just like a heffalump from Winnie the Pooh. It just snakes around the corner sniffing for honey.
Oh man.
Yeah.
So we lose a dragon. Everyone swims in their armor to the beach.
Oh, okay, I do want to talk about one moment in this. There's a moment that's not at the end of this episode that feels like an episode ender and then is completely disregarded by whatever comes after
Which is
it.
another drowning under the water moment, that one?
Yes, exactly. Which is Tyrion
When
jumping
Tyrion
in,
knocked
the
out.
mast seemingly falling directly on top of him, and then the next time we see him, he's just like, Gotta go discuss terms with Qyburn,
Yeah.
I guess. Like,
Yeah, that was weird.
yeah, it
Pissed me off
felt,
because that's like the third time just with Tyrion alone they've done that same shit.
yeah. And it's
I
weird
think it's
because
supposed to be a callback, but
it felt like such an episode ending point, like that we would have seen in previous seasons, and then wasn't, and it also wasn't paid off. I don't know. It's bizarre. That was a weird choice that I wasn't really on board with. But neither was Tyrion on board.
Yeah. Then Missandei gets captured. Grey Worm's pissed.
I thought Grey Worm was just going to go
Yes.
charging. Like, I guess he knew that there's no point.
I mean, he could like pole vault with his javelin over the wall and fly. And I mean, how this season's going, that wouldn't surprise me. And then him just right there. Yeah.
I did think Tyrion was going to say something clever like, do you really know all those... Am I a threat? Me walking past here, you've got to have all those guys pointing their bows at me? Really? Yeah, that whole interaction, which, by the way, I'm okay with the idea that she could hear him. I just think that worked for me. A few other people thought it was a little too far away. That seems to be the internet's opinion as well.
I was thinking it was way too far away.
But
There are dragons in this show. I'm okay with them bending like the laws of distance slightly.
So we get, I think, that interaction, obviously, where we just get a lot. Props to Emilia Clarke, because I'm sure she had to do 30 takes of just like, hey, grimace angrily, slightly different, over and over again. But that exchange, and then of course the Varys Tyrion, where they talk about treason, which we already kind of talked about.
And that's the double jeopardy for today.
Treason is the taboo word.
Yeah, those I actually like those scenes a lot. I like that Tyrion was drinking, especially in this episode.
He was going ham. And he said he hasn't gotten laid in years. You remember that?
Yeah, I mean that's
something they want to
That
say.
checks out.
true,
It
right?
checks
Yeah.
out, but I also like, I don't know. I didn't support prostitution until like right now, but I'm like, my guy, just go get a quickie.
He's been burned before. He's not
I
going to do it
know.
again.
Well,
Especially
don't get
by
emotionally
prostitutes.
attached to a prostitute. That's my mama always said.
That's what your mom always said.
That's what she's been
That
teaching
was
you.
her, when I left the house at 18, she was like, "Don't fall in love with no prostitute boy." And then I started listening to the song, "I'm in love with the stripper." I was like, "Oh, that's not a prostitute." But I don't know. It's just it's so bad for Tyrion. And it was funny how he was like, "Oh, you finally had to climb up a woman." Oh, which by the way, I thought they made an effort for Jaime and Bran to seem like, for him to not seem quite as short compared to her.
Yeah, they
did some
definitely did.
things.
Oh, John, by the way, there has literally been a verbal insult to his height every
All the
episode.
time.
Which, it's kind of
Okay.
funny, but one, he's my height, so let's calm the F down. Two, it's like, Kit, you need to put this in your contract and be like, hey, no one would really know I'm that short if you didn't say anything. The only time it's really bad is when I'm with Sansa.
Yeah,
She is so tall.
apparent.
I
Yeah.
know. The idea that her and Maisie, the Maisie Williams and Mrs. Jonas are related is
Sophie
just
Turner.
So, thank you for bringing that to attention. Coming soon in Dark Phoenix, the conclusion in the last Fox film
Oh, we
produced
can
for the
only hope.
X-Men.
We can only hope.
Anyway, the idea that those two are sisters is just so laughable now. I don't even know what we were talking about. Oh, the good conversation, the good interaction, the planning and shit. What else? What did you guys enjoy about that back third of that episode there?
A lot, apparently.
Whoa!
I don't know, because Euron was in all of it, and I just can't.
Yeah.
I like Tyrion's conversation with Cersei, even though, like we said, this thing was kind of took me out of it a little bit, but that's nitpicky stuff. Like,
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I like the conversation. I was I was wondering if they were gonna kill him at that moment.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it would have been a very bad decision from a writing standpoint to kill him in that moment. But once again, they've done some things, so I'm like, it could happen. But yeah, that worked for me. I'm trying to think what else really was yeah, that works. This is Game of Thrones, and
Yeah. Yeah, once they leave Winterfell, kind of after that party, there was not a ton, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of the highlights of the episode came before that.
Yeah,
for me,
that.
for
I
sure.
absolutely agree. I'm trying to remember like what even happened. So you had the battle-esque scene, then the confrontation scene, and you had the Tyrion and Varys interaction.
I guess. How did you guys feel about the major death in this episode?
Missandei?
Yeah.
I mean, they used it the best they could, right? I mean, she's not necessarily a main character, but her importance to the show hinges on her emotional value to Dany. So if we're looking for something to tip Dany, who has repeatedly been like, let me burn King's Landing, and like, we'll just get everyone. It's funny, she wants to break the wheel. She wants people to love and support her like others have, and she wants to break their chains, but in this case, she's kind of in a no-win situation to burn those people and then try and maintain the loyalty. How do they view her as anything but another tyrant? But this seems to be the thing that's going to push her over. And to me, I do see Missandei being that valuable to her. And so it's a death. They made her death mean something, which if some of our warriors would have died in the Battle of Winterfell, unless they died protecting someone else, their deaths kind of would have been meaningless. That's why I'm a little okay with them living, because you got to think that each of their deaths could serve a greater purpose now. And Missandei's death was played as a good chip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. I think for the minor character that she is, I mean, I would have, if this was where they were trying to go and make us feel the same thing Dany was feeling, I would have liked a little more scenes in previous episodes, even seasons, to build that.
They haven't interacted
friendship.
really this season.
I would have liked to see that friendship built up a little more, so we feel it a little more. But I do definitely buy it from a standpoint of, I do believe she is valuable to Daenerys. It's more like I see it as a logistical thing than I do a feeling thing.
Yeah. I think for me, this moment made me realize how much they've shortchanged that relationship over the past 2 seasons. Once they get to Westeros, Missandei she is seemingly not consulted by Dany on a matter of any importance.
Yeah.
They talk boys at some point when they talk about Jon, but basically all other major advisory gigs have been given to men from Westeros. And so it made me reflect and be like, oh man, yeah, she kind of got screwed the last 2 seasons.
Well, she had also kind of moved on to just prioritizing her relationship.
Yeah, I think that being a relationship that was so interesting in where it came from, and those 2 characters, and the way they've tried to kind of push that idea of us girls in this boys club, that was kind of one of the main things early on in their relationship, and it's kind of a bummer that disappeared, I think. But anyways.
Oh, but we technically lost a dragon here also as well.
I mean, I think we did. I mean, technically,
but I just felt like we pretty much lost him last
No,
week.
I got you.
I was ready for him to be
Yeah.
dead. I would have thought he was dead if he wasn't in the previews for this week. Is there anyone else? I mean, Sansa's just dealing with that news. I kind of would have liked to hear how Bran told them.
I would have loved to have seen that.
We got a cutaway. He
Heard that
could have been like,
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah, no, I agree
He's
with you.
a
I was expecting to
Targaryen.
hear him talk like in very cryptic sentence. What I wanted from that scene was for Jon to be like, "Tell him," and for him to just like say like 1,000 words, and just Sansa and Arya both be like, "Huh?"
What?
Just like one of your summaries, just like, and it was happening, then this happened, then this happened, then this happened.
John would have had to jump in and be like, but he didn't rape her. You forgot that part. They annulled their marriage, so it's not. I'm legit. Because he would have just been like, the Targaryen man and the Stark woman had intercourse and produced Jon Snow. He's your cousin.
I would love to see Sansa and Arya's action to be like, you're banging your aunt.
I know.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because
I don't
they
see
do
anyone's reaction to that.
right.
honestly.
Well, we get it a little bit
This is like
with
the first
Varys,
time that they
who's like
really-
kind of brings that up. But yeah, it's the first time that anyone's addressed it in a way of like, what will people think?
Yeah.
It was the first time that he was like, he said the word aunt. Like, he is her, or she is his aunt.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, if you got that far without knowing, who cares?
Yeah. Well, and like I think the funny thing is it did make it clear that it wasn't like here's the bad incest and here's the good one.
Yeah.
We like this one.
The people
It's
will
like,
still
no,
be
yeah, it's
tripping
still
about
people
this.
who were fine. So
I don't know.
Man. Yeah, I don't know. So the big thing here towards the end of the episode for me really was just like the conflict that's starting to brew between John and Danny for me.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I want to hear your guys' thoughts because it seems to be that the options they're presenting us with are Daenerys taking the Iron Throne or Jon taking the Iron Throne. Obviously, there's more options, but that seems to be the main ones they want us to like think about here. And there's this conversation of who would make a better ruler. Where do you guys stand on that?
I think Jon would make a better ruler. I think he's good at. I mean, he would make mistakes purely by being too pure of heart and not playing the game. But I think he puts good people around him. He's willing to listen to them. He has He has good intention. Dany wants this piece that she doesn't know how to do, and she's also failed at being a ruler in other places. Like, it's not gone well, and she wants the throne to have the throne because she thinks she should have the throne. Like, even though she says she wants to be a better leader and take back what's hers, it's like, what are you true? Like, yeah, you'll be a better leader than Cersei, but if there's more infighting, all you're ever going to do is oppress until people obey you, and then where does that ultimate happiness come in? I just don't see that working out for her. I also just don't know, like, if Cersei goes down and it becomes a Jon versus Dany thing, like, who and who are actually fighting at that point?
yeah.
But Jon doesn't want it, which I totally respect. I wish they could marry and rule equally. Why has no one mentioned, like, hey, this, like, rule of a man being the heir before a person in the generation before him is sexist? Let's just change that when we're in charge. I do get that partnership may not work, but I wonder if there's a scenario where we don't get a throne. I would rather have that than Dany being on the throne and them realizing, oh, we've just gone right back to the Mad King. Everything's from Robert's Rebellion to now was to get to the same spot.
Well, and I think Varys is very dismissive of that relationship being a good thing, and he's because Tyrion's like, maybe Jon will temper her, and he's like, what? You've tempered her? And I'm like, well, that's spoken like a guy who actually doesn't have a lot of interpersonal relationships, like because the relationship between Dany and Jon is vastly different than the one between Tyrion and Dany. And so, I don't know. There's part of me that's like, that's the best case scenario, is if you do,
Two halves make a whole?
I'm American. You split the power up. That, which is hilarious saying that now. But, in theory. So, I don't know. That's to me the best case scenario. If everything's just gonna go to hell and everything's gonna be shitty anyways, I take Cersei over Dany, just because I'd rather see that ending.
That would be
if it's gonna be shit. You know what I mean?
Clever ending.
Yeah. So also, I just want to point out Lena Headey's acting at the end of this when she's up on the wall, freaking incredible. Like we're starting to see Cersei's madness in a way that we haven't seen.
Mm-hmm.
Like the way she goes from like being emotional when her children are mentioned to like that resolve and her thing to like, if you have any last words, now's the time. Basically, like she's awesome.
And you watched her in Fighting with My Family earlier today.
I did. And
so,
damn, she's good. She's Lena Headey.
Fantastic.
Man, yeah. She's
We'll forget
great.
300 ever happened.
Yeah, I did until you just brought it up, and now I remember.
No, there's a bad sequel called Rise of the Empire.
Riley, Jon or Dany?
At this point, I don't super want either of them, but I don't want Cersei.
You started the season very pro Team Dany.
I know, but they're making me not like her very
Don't
much.
say they like it's the writing.
It's them. It's their fault.
This makes sense.
So here's the thing for me, like, because I'm with you on this.
Mm-hmm.
They've made Daenerys, especially after this episode, I'm like I was kind of like slowly creeping towards disliking her. After this episode, I'm like, that scene with her and Jon, especially, I'm like, you're just a manipulative bitch.
Yeah.
Like, you're very unhealthy and would not make a great queen at this point unless you change. But there's 2 episodes left. They're going to have her make a change from this to something likable to something that's going to work. I don't think they can. Maybe they can prove me wrong, but I don't think there's anything believable for me that they can do to make me buy into that. And I think Jon is too dumb. I think he's dumber than Ned. he's dumber than Ned. He's just as good as Ned, I think.
Yeah.
He is willing to make a couple hard decisions, but he's just dumb. And we already saw Ned fail.
Also, is
like
she
that.
pregnant? Because she doesn't look pregnant, but they made such a show of her fertility last year. This is something I keep forgetting about.
I forgot
thought
about that.
she was
Yeah,
going to be,
But,
yeah, you're right.
But Cersei also is supposed to have been pregnant like for a while now.
Yeah.
She's not showing.
If both of them are pregnant, that's just a lot of.
Maybe
pregnant
those
women
babies can get
fighting.
married and we can all live happily ever. Well, here's the thing. Danny almost only works with John, right? John is the one who's been able to divert her from her singular, almost psychotic goal, which she feels so entitled to, but someone needs to tell her, like, hey, did you know your family usurped someone for no reason? Like, she's just a little too much on the crazy scale, and John's the only one that can make that work. So if only one of them can rule, I'd rather have a dumb but good ruler than a crazy woman who her only, and first of all, she can't produce any more Targaryens. So it's like, okay, Danny, what happens after you die? And she's, anytime someone's brought that up, she's like, been like, that doesn't matter. I need my throne. And so her single-mindedness and her lack of demonstration that, like, John has made mistakes while ruling, but every time people have put belief in him, he has done everything he can for them. Whereas she's always been doing what she can for herself, not for her people who've shown her loyalty because, yeah, she broke their chains, but it was really self-serving. I don't, if I had to choose, I would choose John. I don't think either one would make a great ruler, but together they might have the right blend. You know?
Yeah.
It's like how a banana shake's not great, but a strawberry banana shake is good. But if I had to choose between a banana shake and a strawberry shake, I'd choose the strawberry shake.
So that's Don. That's John.
That's right.
John,
That's right.
yeah. Okay.
Right.
Yeah. I just wanted to make sure.
Wait. We should switch this because he has a banana. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, bananas,
I'll change that in the edit.
Bananas are dicks, strawberries are vaginas. Perfect representation.
So true. I've
This
always
has
thought
been
about
your
that.
biology class brought to you by the Jonas Brothers.
And
Thank you.
fruit.
Fruit of the Loom.
Oh, that's our sponsor for next week. We can't mention them yet.
Oh, so sorry. They didn't pay for that. Edit that shit out.
Okay. Well, I'm not going to.
All right. Well, let's do something real quick. I want you to rank the first 4 episodes.
2, 4, 1, 3.
Oh, okay.
That's real quick instincts.
I'm also 2-4-1-3, I think.
I think 2, 4, 3, 1 for me.
Yeah, I would have swapped though. 3 and 4 are sort of equal to me. This one had so much going on. A lot of it I enjoyed. I was pretty gripped in episode 3, so I would probably go something like 2, 3/4, 1. I don't blame 1, but it's a weak link for a reason. I'm surprised you guys put the battle below it. Maybe turn up the brightness on your TVs, and next time you'll change. No, I'm just kidding.
I actually don't have any complaints about that. I'm tired of reading about it. Stop writing articles about it.
Yeah, it was definitely overblown. Honestly, I'm consuming less Game of Thrones content than ever because I'm just like, I just want to see what happens. I love the show, and I'm so sick of people examining it and picking it apart. Does that make me very hypocritical?
I'm gonna cut this out for sure.
Yeah.
No. Okay.
Let
me start this over. Let me start. I am consuming less Game of Thrones content than ever because it's just like, I just want to see what happens. And there's been the same 100 things are said for 7 days straight, and it gets real annoying.
Thanks for listening to our hour-long
I don't
analysis.
even have a criticism of that because it's criticized itself. So
Yeah, I know. I still do consume a bunch, but I have to shut it out. At some
Yeah,
point.
no, I see what you're saying.
Like the fact that people talked about the darkness for a week straight.
Yeah, so long.
All right. You guys, any other final thoughts, questions, comments, concerns, predictions?
Nope.
Okay.
Iron Throne gets melted down and made into one giant sword.
Yes.
or a hammer that Gendry wields that flies
Because
he rides it like a broom.
Arya's rejection gives him the power to wield a hammer bigger than any hammer wielded before.
We do have to approach the possibility that Gendry opens up. People said it before the season. I was like, no. He's too small of a
It's true,
character
he
that
could,
it would kind of suck for the whole series, but it wouldn't make no sense.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, I'm excited to see you guys in 6 days as our throners just grow day by day to see what's going to happen in this epic battle. For Mitchell Marshall, Tyler Harris, Tyler McKinley, and Riley Harris.
I just got a dethrone.
Rewatchers on the wall for episode 4 of season 8 of The Throne of Games.
Boy.
Thanks.
Bye.